So first thing we need to do is review our perfect squares. So perfect squares, 1 is a perfect square, 4 is a perfect square, 9 is a perfect square. Do you guys see where this list is coming from? Or do you think I'm just making it up? 1's a perfect square because 1 times 1 gives you 1. 2 times 2 gives me 4. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 4 times 4, 16. Another way of writing it instead of 4 times 4 is 4 squared. So the little exponent of 2. What about 5 squared? What's 5 times 5? 25. 6 squared? 36. 7 squared? 9. 8 squared? 64. 86. 9 squared? 81. 10 squared? 100. And then 11 squared? 121. And we could obviously keep doing this forever and ever, but we don't need to. So we only solve by square roots if your quadratic is in the form ax squared plus c. So there's no just x by itself. So no bx term. Because if there's a bx term, then we have to either factor or graph. But this is the quickest way to solve a quadratic. But it only works if there's no bx. Okay, so you get x squared alone. Then we'll take square root of both sides. Don't forget minus. That's it. So it's just solving equations. Before I just show you how to do it, let's think easy. X squared equals 9. So what does x have to equal? Not 9. So whatever number I plug in, I'm going to square it. So 3, right? Because 3 squared is 9. We did that up here. 3 times 3 is 9. What other number times itself gives you 9? 3 times 3 is 9. There's another one. -3. So -3 times -3 is a positive 9. So if we were going to solve this using our steps, get x squared alone, it is alone. Take the square root of both sides. So here, I take the square root of x squared and the square root of 9. Square root and square cancel, so you just get x. Don't forget plus or minus. So this symbol is plus or minus. So you have a plus answer and you have a minus answer. Negative. Positive answer and a negative. And then the square root of 9 is 3. And so what we'll be using a lot today is the square root button right here. Square root of 9 is 3. So it's a positive 3 and a negative 3. Positive 3, negative 3. So that's one way you can write it in like the little braces, right? 2 different answers. Or you can see on Delta Math plus minus 3. So that's to say a positive 3 and a negative 3. Just so you know.
It looks like you're underlining.
I know. It just means positive or negative. There's 2 answers there. All right, let's get into some solving equations with this. Solving equations. We're gonna do about, I don't know, 6 of them together, and then you have 5 on your own. But when you solve equations, we're trying to get x squared by itself. So we're trying to get x squared by itself. That means you have to get rid of the 7. Minus 7. Positive 7 minus 7. Cancel out because that's 0. And 88 minus 7 is 81. We're not done because we're not trying to solve for x squared, we're trying to solve for x. So to get rid of the squared, you take the square root. Well, you do to one side, you have to do the other. So you take the square root of both sides. Square root of 81 is 9. Don't forget, there's 2 answers because it could be a positive 9 or a negative 9. So you can write your answer as plus minus 9, or you can write your answers like separated, 9, negative 9. All right, we're trying to get x squared by itself. So that's this part right here. We're trying to get this by itself. So we have to get rid of the negative 2 right here. And everyone always goes, oh, you add 2. You don't add 2. Because how is that negative 2 with the x? What's going on between it? There's no plus sign. It's multiplication. So it's if you have a number right next to an x, that's multiplied. So divide. What are we trying to get rid of? Negative 2. Because negative and a negative was negative 2 divided by negative 2. You're guessing. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 divided by negative 2. It's positive 1. So this is 1x squared. Negative 98 divided by negative 2. I forgot the negative on the 98. I gotta do it again. Negative 98 divided by negative 2. Positive 49. I'm going to erase this one because it's there, but it's not doing anything. Then to get rid of the squared, to square root of both sides, and square root of 49, you said is 7. Don't forget, it can be negative or positive. So plus or minus. 7 or negative 7. Because when you square a negative, that becomes positive. So when you take the square root, plus or minus, don't forget plus or minus. So why I made that list at the beginning of perfect squares? Because these are the numbers I want you to know the square root. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4, square root of 5 is 5. So, because 4 times 4 is 16, 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1. So those perfect squares are nice ones I want you to know. All right, 3 more with me. Hopefully we'll have time for some makeup work. Okay, so we're trying to get x squared alone. So we have to get rid of the 7 and the 66. But the 7's attached to the x, so you want to get rid of the 66 first. Negative 66. Because 66 minus 66 is 0. So that's 0. You don't have to put plus 0. You can, but it's not going to do anything. It goes away. And then we have 3 minus 66. Negative 63. Divide by 7. Negative 63 divided by 7 is negative 9. Trying to get rid of the squared, I take the square root of both sides. So if I already have negative 9. If I take the square root of negative 9, invalid input. You can't do a negative. It doesn't work. Let me show you on Delta Math. So if I made it a negative 9, undefined, you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So this is no, I'm going to go ahead and tell you real solution. Because there's something in math called imaginary. And so these are imaginary solutions. So there's no real solutions. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. Who's emailing me? And you said it was 3 or negative 3. Is what you're going with. So just to show you, obviously 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. But the square root has to be the exact same number twice. So negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So there's no way to get a negative 9 by multiplying the same number twice. So that's the reason behind you can't take the square root of a negative number. Does math is mean. It does stuff like this to you. So I want you to be prepared when you get a question like this. How do I solve that? So parentheses first. So remember solving equations. Let me write your steps. From beginning of the year, you want to distribute, combine like terms, move the variable to one side. I'm going to leave these on the board. Of the equal sign. Add or subtract the constant. Multiply or divide the coefficient. Okay. Distribute. Remember, distribute is when you have parentheses and you're multiplying in. So you multiply it. And that's what we have here. So we have our parentheses or a multiply in. So 5 times x squared is just 5x squared. All right, guys, stay with me. This is going to be our last question, then you can work along. Try some on your own. 5 times 5. Multiply. 25. Yeah, when you distribute, you're multiplying. And then the 5 doesn't go to the 8 because it's not in parentheses. So that's distribute. Combine like terms. So x squared, there's nothing else like x squared. Negative 25 is a constant, and 8 is a constant, and 3 is a constant, but it's on the other side. So we're going to ignore the 3 from now. So we're just going to combine negative 25 plus 8. What is negative 25 plus 8? Negative 17. That's combining like terms. Move the variable to one side of the equal sign. It is. X squared is on one side. It's not on both. So you can skip that step. Skip. Plus or minus the constant. Remember, the constant is the term by itself with no variable. So your constant is 17. So to get rid of a negative 17, add 17. Negative 17 and positive 17 equals 0. 5x squared equals 20. Makes it a 4. Square root of 4 is 2. One last step. Negative or positive. Plus or minus 2. Because to get rid of the squared, you take the square root of both sides. All right. So that's the hardest I think it's going to be. Now you go try some on your own.